After we shared the news of my pregnancy, my sister-in-law's attempt to embarrass me at my husband's party backfired, resulting in her arrest and a divorce. For the past 7 years, I, a 29-year-old woman, have been happily married to Harry. Aside from his relationship with his sister Kayla, who constantly brings negativity into our lives, I cherish every aspect of our marriage. Don't get me wrong, when I first met Kayla, I genuinely liked her. However, over time my perception changed drastically. She has become toxic, manipulative, and overwhelmingly negative. Understanding her true nature, I've worked hard to stay in her good graces for years. Harry had dated Syl's best friend when he was 17, but they broke up because he felt pressured by Syl. When he turned 23 and was single, Syl insisted he should date another friend of hers, but he disagreed. She went crying to their parents, claiming she wanted him to marry someone she approved of, but they hardly listened during their arguments. While Harry and I were dating and falling in love, his parents were supportive, but Syl always treated me coldly. She frequently brought up Harry's exes for no reason, reminding him of their successes and suggesting he reconnect with them. This behavior went on for a while, and Harry found it odd, often asking her to stop mentioning his exes. I wasn't the only one who noticed this. Syl would get furious and mock me, saying I was jealous and that Harry deserved someone better than me. She would intentionally invite one of Harry's exes whenever their parents hosted us for dinner, claiming she just happened to run into them. Although she doesn't follow me, she constantly checks my Instagram. Since my account is public, I notice she's usually the first to view my stories. If a man comments on my photos, she complains to Harry about how I post inappropriate pictures. Harry and I would laugh at her accusations. She convinced Harry to break up with me when we decided to move in together, saying I had numerous flaws as a woman and that she could find him someone superior. This hurt me deeply since I had always been friendly to her. Unfortunately, Syl's treatment worsened once Harry and I got engaged. Everyone celebrated our engagement, but I noticed Kayla was unusually quiet. Then, to everyone's surprise, she abruptly got up and left the gathering. Later, she called Harry, crying and shouting that she felt she should have been the first to hear about his engagement since she was closest to him. She later sent me a nearly threatening message, instructing me on how to treat her brother, claiming she had always been the only woman in his life. I was taken aback by her bizarre message and chose to ignore it, knowing it would likely upset her even more. Every time Syl saw me, she progressively ignored me. For some reason, she remained involved in all the wedding planning, like when I went dress shopping and had my bridal shower. Despite my future mother-in-law and fiancé calling her out multiple times, her criticism of the wedding escalated as she openly expressed her dissatisfaction with my choices. Her behavior continued. One day, Kayla overheard me discussing the centerpiece with my future mother-in-law and immediately mocked me, saying my choice lacked class and that this was why she wanted her brother to marry someone better. That was the breaking point for me and I lost my temper. I made it clear that she was no longer welcome at our wedding and yelled at her that I couldn't tolerate her constant mocking and criticism any longer. She was stunned, as if she never expected me to confront her, and was furious, even at my mother-in-law who supported me. Later, Kayla reached out to Harry, complaining that I had humiliated her and insisting he should control me since I would soon be his wife. Harry firmly stated that he backed my decision and that she wouldn't be invited to the wedding unless she apologized. She begrudgingly sent me a sincere apology, which I saw but left on read. I was exhausted from preparing for my wedding and wanted nothing to do with her drama. In the end, she attended our wedding since I didn't want her to criticize us afterward. Everyone, including the guests, seemed to appreciate the pink and pastel theme I chose for my wedding. However, Syl arrived dressed like she was going to a funeral, in a long black gown with a veil. To say we were shocked would be an understatement. Kayla roamed around sharing her sorrow about losing her brother to another woman. My husband confronted Kayla about her discomfort with her wedding attire at the reception. Claiming she had the right to wear whatever she wanted and that I was too controlling, she tried to play the victim. When her incessant drama continued, my in-laws eventually told her to leave. It was mortifying for me. Since that day, I've kept my distance from her. I made sure Syl stayed away from our child when I gave birth to my son, Nate. She tried to oppose it, but my husband's parents supported my decision and understood why I wanted Syl far from my newborn. Kayla had suffered a miscarriage with her then-boyfriend Jamie 2 years ago, which devastated her. It was a tough time for everyone. Considering our own plans for a family, Harry and I felt sympathy for her. We decided to be a bit more lenient after her miscarriage, allowing her to connect with our son, Nate, and welcoming her into our home. Despite her past behavior towards me, she was quite sweet to our son, which was surprising. At first, it seemed she had changed, but over time, she reverted to her old self. She frequently complained about how tough her life was, claiming things never went her way and blaming former friends or bosses for her misfortunes. I've realized over time that she never sees her faults. She always tries to gain sympathy by playing the victim and hardly admits to any mistakes or conflicts. This year, she decided to get married and invited everyone, including us. Given our seemingly improved relationship, Harry was shocked to find out we weren't invited. When we asked her about it, she explained that she didn't want me there because I might disrupt her wedding. Having never done anything to her, I called her to ask why she thought that. Kayla started saying she had purposely worn all black to our wedding, so she was worried I might do the same, which is why she wanted me off the guest list. I told my husband straight up about her manipulative behavior, and he was furious. After discussing it with his parents, Harry decided to inform Sil that they wouldn't attend her wedding or contribute financially. This made her break down in tears, and she began blaming me for the mess. Her husband told her she had no right to point fingers at me, as she had openly admitted her own mistakes. However, Kayla justified her actions by saying I should just move on since our wedding was a long time ago. Later, she reached out to me to apologize and ask for forgiveness since my in-laws weren't paying for her wedding. As much as I hate to admit it, Kayla can be quite charming and persuasive when she wants something. I wanted to move beyond the past and forgave her. Her wedding to Jamie went off without a hitch, and we all attended and had a great time. Not even 6 months later, Kayla showed up at our door, complaining about her failing marriage. For a few days, Harry and I let her stay with us while she vented about her husband. They seemed to be struggling to conceive, and Kayla was clearly blaming Jamie for everything. When I tried to talk to her, she insisted it was entirely her husband's fault. She would obsess over our lives, trying to create issues that didn't exist, all while complaining about her husband. For example, every morning before work I go to the gym. When I'm running late, I sometimes grab my work clothes to finish my workout, shower, and change into my business attire. She would watch me for a while and ask numerous questions about it, including why I was showering or why I needed to go to the gym. I never thought much of it and explained how I liked to maintain my weight and disliked showing up at the office sweaty. She would nod and lick her lips. During lunch, Sil told us about a friend going through a divorce after discovering her husband's infidelity. She abruptly asked my husband if we had signed a prenup before getting married. We paused surprised. We stopped eating as she looked at my husband expectantly, as if I wasn't even there. He told her directly that he doesn't mince words, and since we both earn good money, we felt no need for a prenup. Sil scoffed and began saying he could be blindsided at any moment, claiming that cheaters are everywhere today. Her comments offended me, so I asked her to clarify what she meant. Sil then suggested I must be seeing someone else since I always carried a change of clothes, and as Harry's sister, it was her duty to warn him. These were shocking allegations. My in-laws arrived just in time to save her from continuing her fabrications and advised her not to meddle in others' affairs. Without missing a beat, Sil insisted she was only trying to look out for her brother and joked if our son Nate was really Harry's since he didn't resemble him much. I swear I had never seen my husband this furious. Looking Kayla directly in the eye, he told her she wasn't a mother and didn't deserve to be one, suggesting her child would be better off in heaven than with someone like her. Kayla's jaw dropped in disbelief. My in-laws watched silently as my husband confronted Kayla, expressing his disdain for her shameless attempts to ruin everything since her life offered nothing. He called her a loser who did nothing all day while her husband worked tirelessly. Reduced to tears, Kayla began to cry, looking for comfort from Jamie, who was sitting next to her, but he said nothing. My husband has never had such a mental breakdown. Eventually, she got up and rushed to the restroom. My husband was furious. I held his hand, and my mother-in-law arrived to help calm him down. Understanding how irritating she could be, I nodded as he apologized for his sister's remarks about our son. Having endured enough from Kayla over the years, I felt relieved that my husband publicly defended me. He apologized to Jamie but completely ignored Kayla once he calmed down. After that lunch, we stopped interacting with Kayla. Her actions were affecting both my husband and me, so we barred her from any contact. A year passed without communication, and everything was peaceful. 2 months ago, I discovered I was expecting again. Given our lack of effort, it was quite unexpected. We felt grateful to welcome another family member. We decided to announce the news on my husband's birthday, waiting for the right moment. To honor Harry, my in-laws organized a big celebration in their backyard, inviting close friends and family. Kayla chose to show up after hearing about it from others. When we saw her, my husband and I were taken aback. Approaching Harry to hug him, she said how much she missed him and how sorry she was for their last conversation. Taking my hand, my husband urged his sister to apologize to me for her past accusations against my character. Kayla nodded, looked at me, and then offered her apology. She mentioned attending therapy for the past few months and realized how inappropriate she had been towards me. Although I disagreed with everything she said, I nodded to be polite in front of everyone. Since this was a gathering for my husband, my in-laws checked in on us, saying they would intervene if I felt uncomfortable, as they had no idea she would be there. However, Harry insisted on avoiding a scene, so we decided to let it slide. It felt odd as Kayla laughed and mingled with everyone during the party. She mentioned therapy, so I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, even though she appeared overly cheerful, which wasn't her usual demeanor. When it was time to cut the cake, Harry spoke beautifully about feeling like the luckiest man on earth, grateful for another year with someone like me. His words made me blush with happiness. Just like when we first started dating, I couldn't help but appreciate the love Harry and I still shared. Then, Harry and I decided to share some exciting news. With big smiles, we announced we were expecting a baby, and everyone paused before erupting in joy. My mother rushed over to hug me and began to cry. As Phil congratulated Harry and me, tears streamed down his face. Everyone was eager to know if we had chosen baby names and was genuinely happy for us. Kayla stood out like a sore thumb. She looked stunned, her mood shifted, and she turned away, appearing annoyed. So I figured she was just processing everything slowly. Though I was a bit worried she might spoil yet another celebration for us, I got distracted by others coming over to chat. I stood up to help my in-laws carry food, but Rick and my parents insisted I stay seated, telling me I shouldn't move at this point. Kayla approached me with a big smile, saying she wanted to serve me dinner since she was thrilled about my pregnancy. Handing me a dish, she even said she wanted to make amends for how she had treated me in the past. I nodded and politely accepted. As I was about to dig in, I fortunately noticed she had put shrimp on my plate. Knowing I'm highly allergic to shrimp, I was shocked that Kayla would serve me this. Disappointed, I shook my head and got up to get my own food. At that moment, Jamie came over to congratulate me on my pregnancy. After a brief chat, he asked why I hadn't been eating. Jamie reassured me and took the dish from my hands after I pointed out that Kayla had mistakenly served me shrimp. Since he enjoyed shrimp, he said he could take that plate, and I could grab a fresh one for myself. I nodded, smiled, and turned away. 5 minutes later, Jamie started to vomit and retch from that dish. Concerned, everyone stopped eating and watched as he staggered to get out of his seat. Worried, Harry and Kayla rushed over to him. Jamie pointed at his plate and then at his throat. Our eyes widened in shock as we realized something was definitely wrong with him. Jamie collapsed and everyone gasped in horror. Kayla hurried to check his plate, her eyes widening in disbelief as she turned to me and asked if I had given my plate to her husband. He nodded. In the chaos, someone called for an ambulance, and he was rushed to the hospital. Throughout this, Kayla cried non-stop and glared at me. We later learned that Jamie had been poisoned. Knowing the plate originally belonged to me, I nearly fainted upon hearing this. Jamie might have poisoned my baby and me. This is still unknown to Harry, my in-laws, or my parents. Since no one knew what was in the food he ate that caused him to faint, the police were called to gather evidence. Jamie is still recovering in the hospital as I write this. Kayla stayed with him overnight, and relatives have been calling to find out what happened and who might have poisoned him, leaving my husband and me fielding calls. What transpired has shaken my in-laws, and they are currently staying at our house, terrified to return home. Telling everyone that the plate originally belonged to me and that Kayla had handed it to me terrifies me. If this turns into an investigation, I'll have to tell the police the truth. Most importantly, I'm now quite worried about what Kayla might do to me. I feel terrible about what happened, and I don't want to be near her. I can't let my kids be around her, as she clearly has no qualms about trying to harm me. I regret handing my meal to Jamie, possibly contaminating him. Date 1. Wow, I'm overwhelmed by the thousands of comments on this post in just a few hours. I never expected to receive so many responses. I wrote this earlier with trembling hands and haven't been able to sleep. While I appreciate everyone's input, I do feel somewhat responsible for the incident with my dish. I should have just thrown it away. I'm not sure why I allowed him to take it from me. I keep crying about his future. Knowing something is off, my husband has been staying close to me. Although he doesn't know what I know about his sister, he thinks I'm just worried. I agree with the suggestions that I should sit down and talk gently with everyone, but I'm unsure if they will believe me. My in-laws do have security cameras set up around the house since the birthday celebration was in their backyard. I'm confident they can check the footage to confirm that Kayla handed me that plate. I'll talk to everyone tonight and provide another update. Date 2. We had a conversation, and I'm so grateful to have the kindest in-laws in the world. My in-laws are currently staying with us, so I gathered with Harry and them over dinner to share something important. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Everyone leaned in as I recounted the events of the birthday party, including how Sil had given me a plate of shrimp that Jamie accidentally ate, leading to his illness. Their shock mirrored my own as I spoke. My in-laws exchanged worried glances, and Harry's expression shifted from uncertainty to anger. I expressed my concerns about Sil's intentions and her past attempts to harm me. Faced with the potential consequences for myself and our unborn child, I hesitated to reveal everything. Being the practical woman she is, my mother-in-law immediately suggested reviewing the security footage. Given the seriousness of the situation, my father-in-law nodded in agreement. Although Harry was clearly hurt, he remained silent to process the shocking news. As we watched the footage from their camera app, the evidence was undeniable. The video showed Sil handing me the poisoned plate, leading to Jamie's distress. The gravity of the situation left no room for doubt. As the reality sank in, emotions ran high. Now fully aware of his sister's malicious intentions, Harry struggled to contain his anger. My in-laws were horrified by their daughter's actions and found the lengths she went to disturb our lives shocking. Stunned into silence, we tried to understand why she would behave this way. Given the severity of the matter, my in-laws decided to forward this information to the police. Jamie will be the one to press charges against Sil, so my father-in-law and husband will visit him once he recovers. I feel like crying every time I think about how I let Jamie have my poison dish. I'm anxious about his reaction and can't eat or sleep properly. I'll keep you updated on any significant developments. Date 3. Alright everyone, I'm back with a long-awaited update. I know it's been a month since my last update, and I'm currently a pregnant woman going through a lot. First things first, Kayla was detained after the evidence was presented. My in-laws handed the recording to the police, and Kayla immediately confessed, not even contesting the accusations. She broke down in tears. Jamie was just as shocked as the rest of us when my husband approached him about what had happened. My husband assured him that he would always be part of our family, no matter what he decided. He advised Jamie to press charges against his sister for such a heinous act. Once Jamie recovered, he not only chose to pursue charges but also sought a divorce. Desperate and pleading for forgiveness, Kayla reached out to my mother-in-law and father-in-law. As it turns out, Kayla is pregnant herself. She tried to manipulate them into bailing her out by claiming it was for the sake of their granddaughter. My father-in-law firmly told her it was time to take responsibility for her actions and that they were done coddling her. While my mother-in-law is quite upset about what's happening to her daughter, she understands that Kayla's actions cannot be easily forgiven. The police found evidence that she tampered with the meal intended to harm me, which backfired and injured her husband. She faces multiple charges, including endangering lives, causing harm, and tampering with food, thereby compromising safety. Kayla has been insisting that this is all my fault. She pleaded with Jamie not to press charges against her. Fortunately, Jamie is determined to see her punished. Her court hearing will be coming up soon, and I doubt she can escape this time. As for my son and me, we're doing well, thanks for asking. He remains oblivious to what his aunt has done. We want to protect him from these situations, so Harry and I have decided to sit down with him and explain the truth. Having a tough but necessary conversation with a young child will be challenging but essential. As my doctor advised, I'm also getting regular ultrasounds for my pregnancy every 2 weeks. We want the baby to be a surprise, so we're not finding out the gender. Knowing what happened with Kayla, my parents have been a bit protective of me. They're encouraging me to seek therapy, concerned that this could affect my mental health during the pregnancy. I agree with them. While I try to act normal, I've developed a deep-rooted fear of what Kayla did to my food and avoid eating anything outside or that I haven't prepared myself. Hopefully, my husband can help me overcome this irrational fear, as he's aware of it and supports me throughout. Date 4. I last checked in 8 months ago, and Kayla is currently in prison. She was found guilty of the charges against her. Although I didn't attend her court hearings, my in-laws occasionally updated me on how Kayla confessed in court, admitting her years of jealousy towards me. She had always envisioned one of her best friends marrying my husband, so when he started dating me, she tried to bully me because she didn't want an outsider marrying her brother. She became jealous when we announced at my husband's birthday party that we were expecting, especially since she was also planning to reveal her own pregnancy. She wanted to share her good news after having a miscarriage but felt we stole her moment in the spotlight. Her anger, fueled by pregnancy hormones, led her to mix a bit of rat poison into my dinner. She claimed she wanted me hospitalized but never intended to harm the baby or me. She argued that she deserved a lighter sentence because she never expected me to offer her husband my plate, essentially blaming me for poisoning him. Naturally, the judge dismissed her pleas. She was sentenced to prison and will be out of our lives for a considerable time. Jamie is finally free since she has effectively divorced him. We've been seeing him over the months and include him in our family gatherings whenever possible. He reassured me that it was never my fault when we spoke, and I sincerely apologized for handing him my plate. I've replayed that moment in my mind over and over, wishing I could have done things differently to prevent him from being poisoned. Hearing that he's doing well now brings me joy. As for Harry and me, our family has grown to include a baby daughter. Her arrival has brought warmth and light to our lives, despite the shadows of the past lingering. Nate, our son, is thrilled to be a big brother and has been incredibly loving and caring toward his little sister. Watching our children bond fills us with gratitude. My parents and in-laws have supported us throughout this journey, guiding us through this new chapter in our lives. Thank you for following along. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more shocking real-life stories happening around you.